This is News You Can Use.
As a service professional, the more you know, the more I know, the more value we can offer to our customers. Recently, we hosted Doug Duncan, the chief economist for Fannie Mae, in our offices here in Alpharetta, Georgia, for a comprehensive discussion of all the factors currently impacting the housing market, as well as a discussion for his best forecasts for the remainder of 2022 and 2023. Over the coming weeks, barring any significant change in market conditions, we'll be sharing insights from our discussion to provide you with a better understanding of our industry. Again, the more you know, the more value you can offer to your customers. If you want to be the smartest person in the room at your next dinner party, well, we're about to help you do just that. Today's episode, Doug brings clarity to some complex financial terms you just might have heard floating around the airways over the past year.
This is News You Can Use.
So if all of you want to be really smart, like in front of your friends, raise your hand if you know what QE is. Right, so I thought this would be good. So can you explain to everyone what QE is that built a balance sheet?
Yeah, it stands for quantitative easing. And what that means is the Fed is going to buy assets and hold them on their balance sheet to increase the money stock in the economy. So they buy treasuries, and in this instance, they bought mortgage-backed securities. In fact, they are the single biggest holder of mortgage-backed securities in the world.
So you now know some trivia, because everyone thinks China might be, but the truth of the matter is, the easy way to explain it is, the Treasury would issue debt, we collect taxes, we have charges as a government, we have a deficit, and we're issuing debt to pay for that. And then there's mortgages being sold in the market, guaranteed by you fine folks at Fannie Mae, which is owned by the government. And the Fed is coming in and actually buying those.
That's correct.
Right.
Treasury bills and mortgage-backed securities.
Fascinating.
To the tune of $9 trillion. Now, they've said it's a matter of a public record that they would eventually like to not hold any mortgage-backed securities, because traditionally they've only held treasuries. After the great financial crisis, they went through the first time ever experience of buying mortgage-backed securities. I referenced the speech that Chairman Bernanke made in May of 2013 that said they were going to stop buying at some point. Well, they did stop buying for a while. Then they resumed it with the COVID experience. They have now stopped. They said in June that in June, July, and August, they were going to allow up to $17 billion in mortgage backs to run off each month. That would be the cap. During that 3-month period, about $6 billion ran off. Now the cap is $35 billion, and essentially nothing is running off.
Because rates
yeah. Exactly. About 95% of all the mortgages that are guaranteed by Fannie and Freddie have about 150 basis point less coupon. In other words, their interest rate on those outstanding mortgage-backed securities have interest rates 150 basis points or 1.5% lower than current market rates. No one's going to willingly give those up. And so they're staying on the Fed's balance sheet. So it's raising questions. So QT, which is quantitative tightening, is the reverse of QE. So they said we're going to let them run off. That would be tightening, but they're not running off.
You're getting QT'd right now. That's what's going on, right? So the Fed is actually sellers instead of...
Well, they're not sellers.
They're just not buyers any longer, right?
Right, and they're letting treasuries are running off. They had about $3 trillion of treasuries that had 24 months or less maturity. So those are running off, and they are not replacing all of them, or they're replacing them with different durations of security.
And all these things that Doug just described in terms of QE now turning into QT, and the Fed's activity, that's what's pushing rates up. Those are all complicit to the process.
Thank you, Doug, for offering that perspective. So we just learned that QE is not a boat. It stands for quantitative easing. QT is not a boat either. It stands for quantitative tightening. Well, guess what? There's another meaning for the initials QT, and that's quality time. You're armed with some great new vocabulary words from today's program. Make sure you share them with the people in your life that matter most. And that's news you can use.